Watch a top-tier football match today, and you'll see a clinical, data-driven exercise in precision. But rewind to the English leagues of the 1990s, and the environment was entirely different. A place where a single mistimed tackle often tears the turf and ends a career. Teams in that era relied on a specific archetype, the hard man. These were players utilized for a singular purpose, to intimidate the opposition and inflict enough physical discomfort to win the match before the tactical battle even began. Andy Morrison was the ultimate embodiment of this role. To understand his reputation, you only have to look at the words of Sam Allardyce. A manager who valued grit above all else, Allardyce described Morrison as a horrible, in-your-face center-back and a complete nutter. The people sharing the pitch with him shared that assessment. His own teammate, Ben Thornley, described Morrison as the hardest person to ever play the sport. For Morrison, extreme violence wasn't just a character flaw, it was a tactical tool. Desperate managers viewed his capacity for aggression as a way to reset a team's culture and force results through sheer physical dominance. By 1998, Manchester City was a club in freefall. For the first time in their history, they had been relegated to the third tier of English football, and the squad seemed completely unable to cope with the reality of lower league life. City still possessed technical players, but they were being physically bullied week after week. They were a club in the midst of an identity crisis, lacking any form of internal leadership or defensive grit. To stop the collapse, the club took a gamble on Morrison. He was an injury-prone defender signed for just £80,000, brought in specifically to stand his ground when the rest of the team wouldn't. The logic was simple. To escape a division defined by physical brutality, Manchester City needed a captain who was more dangerous than the league itself. Morrison's career had already established a clear pattern. Managers recognized that his sheer presence could serve as a catalyst for squads that had grown soft or underconfident. He was often bought specifically to lead. When he moved to Blackpool, he was immediately handed the captaincy to inject a sense of aggression into the locker room that hadn't existed before his arrival. Manchester City manager Joe Royle viewed Morrison as a bargain bin solution to a deep-seated cultural problem. He wasn't just buying a defender, he was buying a psychological shield for his playmakers. The impact was visible before the whistle even blew. In the tunnel, Morrison would beat his chest and growl at the opposition, a display of raw intensity that intimidated opponents and gave his own teammates a sense of borrowed confidence. This approach worked. Morrison captained City to a historic 1999 playoff final victory at Wembley, a win that finally started the club's climb back toward the top flight. Pure talent hadn't been enough to save City. It took Morrison's brand of psychological domination to convince a losing squad that they were capable of winning. But a player wired for extreme hostility cannot easily regulate that energy. The same traits that made Morrison an asset also made him a constant disciplinary risk. His career was a revolving door of red cards and touchline bans. When your primary tactic is intimidation, the line between leadership and liability is incredibly thin. His on-pitch behavior frequently veered into the surreal. During a match against Fulham, he sought to assert dominance over striker Stan Collymore by sticking his tongue into the opponent's mouth before being sent off for the altercation. The chaos followed him off the pitch as well. From farting during a manager's tactical meeting to a conviction for benefit fraud while he had tens of thousands of pounds in the bank, his life was defined by a total lack of impulse control. Eventually, the physical cost caught up with him. His uncompromising play style and reckless tackling took a massive toll on his body, resulting in a career-ending injury while on loan at Sheffield United. The same aggression that allowed Morrison to save Manchester City's season ultimately ensured his career wouldn't last to see the club's eventual return to the Premier League. For a man whose identity was built on physical strength, retirement is often a slow decline. But Morrison found a way to channel that same intensity into a different role. He turned to management, taking the ferocious competitive drive that had defined his playing days and applying it to tactical discipline and leadership. At Connah's Quay Nomads, his results were concrete. He led the club to 2 league titles, their first Welsh Cup, and their first venture into European competition. His reputation as a leader eventually took him into international management, where he was appointed as the head coach for the Sri Lanka national team.
His name had become such a shorthand for leader that it led to one of the most bizarre errors in football history. In 2010, the Seychelles FA accidentally hired an amateur coach on holiday purely because they mistakenly believed he was the real Andy Morrison. The ultimate proof of his impact is found in the record books. When Manchester City fans were asked to vote for the club's greatest ever captains, Morrison finished third, ranked behind only club legends Roy Paul and Tony Book. Modern football has moved on from the era of the hard man, but Morrison's story suggests that sometimes raw, uncompromising grit can achieve goals that pure talent simply